Sexual abuse in America versus Spain. Rape has been a tragedy that has occurred in our world as long as the history of the world itself, a tragedy that has yet to be stopped. Rape is a transcontinental problem that has yet to be solved. Today we want to look at the issue of sexual abuse and the culture surrounding it. Specifically, we wish to compare and contrast how it is treated in the United States of America versus Spain. Not only the violation of the act itself is a recurring problem, but the after effects alter the mental stability and relationships of the victims for the rest of their lives. Generally, sexual abuse affects 15 to 25% of the female population around the world. Victims suffer in countless ways in sexual abuse, but one of the lasting effects are the deterioration of mental and physical health afterwards. The sad fact remains an overwhelming amount of women don't report their rape to authorities and do not seek the necessary treatment afterwards. Studies show that abuse directly relates to increased headaches, gastrointestinal, and gynecological problems, as well as panic attacks. Spain continues to have one of the lowest rates of reported rapes to authorities in the world and is well known below the average in the European Union. Scholarly research shows that 70 to 80% of rapes in Spain go unreported. A study in 2011 found that there are an average of roughly 1,161 reported violent rapes each year in Spain. The equality of women was officially written into the Constitution of 1931. However, the reality of this remains suspect. Spain's legislation in regards to women have more to do with the abuse of women in Spain domesticality. For example, there is a law that keeps track of the number of women killed from men each year due to domestic abuse. However, the laws on rape and sexual abuse remain suspect. According to Spanish law, in order to be considered rape, there must be an intimidation and violence within the act. This law does not take into account the terror of the victims, the factors in the moment, and countless other things. If rape can't be proven with these requirements, the offenders could potentially be charged with sexual abuse and be up for probation within the next couple months' time. This brings the event that victims are trying to move forward with back into the spotlight and harms the healing process that is required for them. The problems of Spain are highlighted in one recent case this year in Pamplona, Spain, deemed the La Manada case. The story follows the gang rape of an 18-year-old girl during the running of the Bulls Festival 2 years ago. The trial itself was more of an examination of the conduct of the victim instead of the acceptance of the overwhelming evidence against the offenders. After a lengthy and very biased trial, the 5 men were only charged of continuous sexual abuse and sentenced to 9 years in prison. One judge went so far as to claim there weren't any sexual misconducts at all. Following the verdict, the streets of Spain were full of protesters. Not only did the general populace object the outcome, but outcry came from politicians and humanitarian organizations alike, and they wonder why only 20% of rapes are reported each year. The epidemic that is the violent act of rape transcends borders. In order to contextualize the Spanish sexual abuse legislation, we will look at the same issue in the United States of America. Our goal is not to find one country superior to the other in terms of handling the rape policies, but the issues that affect the world as a whole. Concerning legislation within the United States of America, each state has a different exact definition of sexual assault. The overall accepted belief is that if the victim is touched in any way without consent, the crimes for his or her punishment can range from assault and battery to rape. Originally, the United States had a similar policy of having to prove violence in order to call an act rape. However, that was done away with in the 1960s. There are also several laws called shield laws in the United States to prevent the evaluation of the morals of the victim as well. Even with these laws, the rate at which offenders are given lenient sentences or acquittals. These laws have proved insufficient in the history of rape cases in the United States and don't do away with the human error that comes from the rape culture surrounding these trials. America's problems in regards to rape and sexual misconduct lies in the judicial system rather than the legislation. This is highlighted in a case from a couple years back in one of the most elite collegiate institutions in the country, Stanford University. The case involved the attempted rape and assault of a 23-year-old woman after a fraternity party by one of the school's star athletes. The athlete, Brock Turner, was found on top of the unconscious woman by other students riding bikes nearby. The long and highly publicized trial resulted in only a 6-month jail sentence for the offender, even though he was convicted of 2 counts of rape, 2 counts of sexual penetration, and 1 count of assault to commit rape. The judge's lenient sentence was even less than what the court wanted, and he said after any more time in jail, it would have a severe impact on the assaulter because of his Olympic aspirations. During the trial, the anonymous victim wrote and read this letter to Brock Turner, her own rapist. "You don't know me, but you've been inside me, and that's why we're here today. I thought, there's no way this is going to trial. There were witnesses, there was dirt on my body, he ran but was caught. He's going to settle, formally apologize, and we will both move on. Instead, I was told he hired a powerful attorney, expert witnesses, private investigators who were going to try and find details about my personal life to use against me, find loopholes in my story to invalidate me and my sister in order to show that this sexual assault was in fact a misunderstanding, that he was going to go to any length to convince the world he had simply just been confused. I was not told that I was assaulted. I was told that because I couldn't remember. I technically could not prove it was unwanted, and that discounted me, damaged me, and almost broke me. It is the saddest type of confusion to be told I was assaulted and nearly raped, blatantly out in the open, but we don't know if it was counting as assault yet. I had to fight for the entire year to make it clear that there was something wrong with the situation. Instead of taking time to heal, I was taking the time to recall the night in excruciating detail in order to prepare for the attorney's questions that would be invasive, aggressive, and designed to steer me off course, to contradict myself, my sister, phrased in ways to manipulate my answers. Instead of the attorney saying, "Did you notice any abrasions?" he said, "You didn't notice any abrasions, right?" This was a game of strategy, as if I could be tricked out of my own worth. A life, one life, yours, you forgot about mine. Let me rephrase for you. I want to show people that one night of drinking can ruin 2 lives, you and me. You are the cause, I am the effect. You have dragged me through hell with you, dipped me into the night again and again. You knocked me down over towers. I collapsed at the same time as you did. If you think I was spared, came out unscathed, that today I ride off into the sunset while you suffer the greatest blow, you were mistaken. Nobody wins. We have all been devastated. We have all been trying to find some meaning in all of this suffering. Your damage was concrete, stripped of titles, degrees, and enrollment. My damage was internal, unseen. I carry it with me always. You took away my worth, my privacy, my energy, my time, my safety, my intimacy, my confidence, my own voice, until today. See, one thing we have in common is that we were both unable to get up in the morning. I am no stranger to suffering. You made me a victim. In newspapers, my name was unconscious, intoxicated woman. 10 syllables and nothing more than that. For a while, I believed that that's all I was. I had to force myself to relearn my real name, my identity. To relearn that this is not all that I am. That I am not just a drunk victim at a frat party found behind a dumpster, while you are the all-American swimmer at a top university. Innocent until proven guilty, with so much at stake. I am a human being who has been irreversibly hurt, and my life was put on hold for over a year, waiting to figure out if I was actually worth something. This blatant act of bias and leniency towards the aggressor is unfortunately a common occurrence within American society, something that must be added to the long list of problems surrounding rape in America. The sad truth is that the rape of innocent women is only part of the problem facing both Spain and America. Rape culture continues to be a prevalent issue everywhere. Formerly, rape culture was defined as a society or environment whose prevailing social attitudes have the effect of normalizing or trivializing sexual assault and abuse. And here lies one of the many, many problems. Spain and America alike have created a rape culture uniquely their own, but nevertheless traumatic to the victims within their own country. In Spain, macho values have been a valued trait in men for generations. Their aggression is seen as assertive and manly instead of threatening and predatory. In America, the dismissal of violent sexual assault crimes are continuously swept under the rug in hopes of preserving athletes' reputations. For both countries and around the world, women are led to feel ashamed of something out of their control. They have to subject themselves to questioning of if their rape was their fault and the judgment of the society they've always called home. So, what is there to be done? Going forward, we as a society need to tackle the issue of rape and the problems surrounding it head on. Not only do the courts and legislation need to be targeted with more specific laws on rape, but the society itself must be put on trial. Judges, like the ones involved in the trials of the 18 and 23-year-old women in Spain and the United States, deserve to be called out and forced to explain themselves even more. By even having the strength to take their rapes to trial, these women have stood up for the female gender as a whole. They should be rewarded for their strength and not questioned for how much they had to drink or what they did wrong in any circumstance. We hope that the era of mass media and the continued strength of individuals will garner a new beginning of questioning the social and political norms set up in the governments across the world. As this is a first offense, I can see where the leniency would beckon. On the other hand, as a society, we cannot forgive everyone's first sexual assault or digital rape. It doesn't make sense. The seriousness of rape has to be communicated clearly. We should not create a culture that suggests we learn that rape is wrong through trial and error. The consequences of sexual assault need to be severe enough that people fear enough to exercise good judgment, even if they are drunk, severe enough to be preventative. And finally, to women everywhere, I am with you. On nights when you feel alone, I am with you. When people doubt you or dismiss you, I am with you. I fought every day for you, so never stop fighting. I believe you. As the author Anne Lamott once wrote, lighthouses don't go running all over an island looking for boats to save. They just stand there shining. Although I can't save every boat, I hope that by speaking today, you absorbed a small amount of light, a small knowing that you can't be silenced, a small satisfaction that justice was served, a small assurance that we are getting somewhere, and a big, big knowing that you are important, unquestionably, you are untouchable, you are beautiful, you are valued, respected, undeniably, every minute of every day, you are powerful, and nobody can take that away from you. To girls everywhere, I am with you. Thank you.